Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Daniel.
I'm Boris.
And we're here to talk to you today about the Unity Hub. So first, let's jump right into it. So what is the Hub? So here we have what we're seeing as our vision for the Hub and how it's basically bridging the desktop to the Unity ecosystem as a whole. It's a connected application. And essentially what we're positioning it as a companion to the Unity editor. So the editor that you know and love and use today, an app that is an essential companion to help basically streamline and help you with your production processes. And it's a platform that we're using to help deliver and build additional services and functionality throughout the releases of Unity. Basically, we have the Hub and we have the launcher. And Boris can jump into some more details about the launcher and a little bit of the history there. So please go ahead, Boris.
Yes, so the launcher actually today, we have the launcher and creates an open project. And extending the launcher with features became a problem, specifically if we have more than one Unity versions. And that was the mainest concern that we have with our customer. Being able to have features for multiple different versions was a problem. So what we really need is a platform to present workflows for deployment and onboarding to get the latest update possible. And so we created a different separate app, which is the Hub. And the main goal is to maintain the features that needs at the production level more than just inside of the editor.
So the Hub today started as looking at the core problems. We have editor installation. We have project management. Your Unity accounts and the entitlements of your whether it's a personal license or an organization-based entitlement, and learning and onboarding content. The idea there is, we want to make editor installation very discoverable, make it a seamless flow from new releases pushed out. You're able to download it, install, get access to latest betas, latest updates as they become available. Onboarding people in a meaningful way, whether you're a new user or an existing user, an efficient process to go from you have your editor set up, you want to create a new project, what does that look like, what kind of settings do you need, and facilitate the discovery of new content, and essentially connecting you to your accounts, what you're entitled to use, and so on and so forth. So jumping into the editor installation, one of the features we've added today is the ability to customize the installation path. So you can have side-by-side version management. And here we have a demo of, right now we have all the available official releases as we're labeling them in the Hub today, and the latest beta release, which was 2 weeks ago according to this video, but as things have been updated, and essentially now what you're seeing in the video here is component selection. So you've installed something, you may have chosen select components like iOS or Android, but now you want to do a WebGL build, you can easily access that through the component installations menu in the Hub today. Moving forward into project management, is the idea of, you have your local projects that you've created on disk, plus the ability to synchronize any projects that you may have with the collab. So if you're using Unity Teams and you want to collaborate with other users, you can coordinate and sync those. And this is the new feature with able to really take the editor, choose your release, and choose your build platform before actually launching the editor itself. And here's a new feature which we've worked on recently, kind of responding to that onboarding problem is templates. As a new user, we're pushing out new features all the time. We want to make it easier for people to discover what those are and get Unity up and running as quickly and efficiently as possible. So we've built these project templates. And here's just a quick way, if you've purchased asset store content, to be able to add it to your project before you've actually created it. Things that you may know that you've purchased and use on a regular basis. Basically, going forward, we want to elaborate on this, and we'll get into that a little bit more later in the presentation. And last but not least is the account and learning. So right now, it's just quick gateways into what is your Unity license, managing your organization if you're part of a larger team, just quick links to help you get into there. And the idea is to keep you within that production context without having to go to the website all the time. We can help provide those links and hook you into that directly. And of course, for the learning content, this is stuff which is equally hosted on the asset store, but we want to make it front and center to help new users really get on board and basically learn what they need with either beginner tutorials, intermediate samples, and more advanced projects as well. So that's just a quick overview of what we have today in the hub, available now. What's next, though? I think this is really important. We have a very strong user community providing a lot of feedback on our beta forum, and we're essentially looking at how do we then take that feedback and build on it into essentially providing future enhancements and future workflows to further improve on that vision and that strategy that we're trying to implement. So first and foremost, it comes with a new UX design. This isn't just us about creating a new surface and a new skin, but really about in order to extend that, we had to provide a bit more visuals, really building on that vision of usability, streamlining, ease of use, facilitating production. So we're enhancing project templates, making it clear what exactly the project template is designed for. And here are some mock-ups which we have that are currently being run through in the new design. But more importantly, there's a new format for the template, and Boris can kind of describe that a little bit more.
Right, so the new format right now is just a little drop box and you can merely know what you're going to do. But right now with the new categories, the templates is going to be, it's going to be easier to find and decide which template I should use. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, so the idea going forward along those same lines is right now the templates are bundled within the editor. And in part what the vision of the hub is to be able to separate a lot of these processes away from the authoring side of the editor and have the hub be this Unity agnostic version management system as well for things like basically your setups, your configs. And so we be able to plan to be able to deliver these templates basically, and so you deliver the templates in a way that you can then ingest them without having to do it through the editor, have them set up and install as a package, and that's something which we'll get into in another session tomorrow related to the package manager. So the hub having that integration within the ecosystem will then bring in the template, allow you to import what you need for a given workflow context. And a big part of this as well is it enables us to then provide the authoring tools for users to create custom templates.
So the idea is that when you ever need some features that you always create in your new project and you want to clone this simple project, then you can put it somewhere and you're going to be able to have your own template and clone your project easily, which is useful.
And last but not least for this particular section is we're looking at the dark UI theme to match the Pro and Personal and Plus licensing, but of course still keeping the gray theme if so desired. Part of the new UX design is streamlining the project and editor visualization. So in the editor sense, being able to more visualize what components you have installed for a specific editor release. And we're very thankful, I think, for the community here, for all the feedback we received during our preview and beta stages of the hub to show what kind of feedback do we need to improve on in terms of how users organize their projects.
So the biggest problem that we have right now is that we just have a bunch of recent project lists and it never ends. And this is something that we have since a few versions of Unity, and this is not a really good thing. And what we want is to be really able to manage your project list and have a project list that makes sense and be able to delete the project, for example, because right now there's no way to do that. And yeah, sorting, searching is something that makes more sense. Even, I mean, after a few years of working with Unity, it's the kind of trivial things that we need to do, so we're working on that.
And along the lines of, well, general UX improvements to the sizing of the window, making it more dynamic depending on your list, expanding it. Right now the hub is more of a fixed window based on the launcher design, and we're really looking to improve it to be much more of a modern companion application. So that's what we're working on currently. And then really, again, thanks to our community, there was plenty of feedback we've received on ideas of where the hub should go. And this is where we love to open up to questions at the end to everyone here, get your feedback on what priorities should we focus on next. So building off of our current foundation, what have we heard so far? So we currently provide editor installation. What about advanced deployments? We've had a lot of feedback on the forum now around what that means and what ideas for people, small indies through larger studios. through connecting it to cloud services. This is, again, part of extending that Unity ecosystem. There's a lot of other things that we offer that we would like to put front and center if this is interesting and useful for people in a production workflow context. Cache server integration. And importantly, extensibility. This is a core value that we support overall in everything we do. So what does that mean for the hub? Having a plugin framework. I've heard a lot of feedback around command line interface. So we brainstormed on a couple of ideas there and would love to hear more about what should we focus on next? How should we go about solving these problems? So in advanced deployments. So it's clear that it's not just one person in the internet. There's many scenarios that people use Unity in. Right now in the hub, you download, you install. It's a streamlined process. What does that mean to enable basically the ability to say, well, I have a catalog of editors that I work with. I'd love to keep an archive of this. I want to download and install later, or potentially deploy to a larger group of users. If I'm an admin at a studio, for example, what does that mean in terms of flows and enablement through the hub? Common feedback we've heard as well in the forums are components and build platforms. I'd love to be able to have a config that I know I always use these for my projects. How can I just simply always have these as pre-selected defaults moving forward? And being able to configure your development environment.
Mm-hmm. So the idea would be, for example, I would like my project to open it with an IDE right away so that I don't have to open, if I want to change the code, I don't have to open the editor, double click on a script, go inside the game inspector to open a Visual Studio, for example. So these are the kind of features that we would like maybe to add.
Cloud services. We have an array of services available for production and for live ops. Currently in the hub today, we have, primarily in the mobile side, having ads and analytics, being able to get that up and running as a quick toggle, which will then turn on the service for your given project as you create it. We want to expand on that and getting feedback from the community and really prioritizing what are the services that you use the most, how do we enable them in a way that's easy and streamlined. The important part here as well is moving forward, a lot of how Unity is delivering these services and the tools around them is through packages. So as you selectively enable that service, we want to be able to pull in the required packages, the latest releases supported for a given version of the editor, and be able to prepare that for your project. So if you choose a template, you can then enable a service which would then say, I want to have multiplay, I want to have collab, I want to have cloud build, and so on and so forth as part of that default-based template. And a lot of the lines of pre-post project creation configs. So this is where you can do it pre-project, you know exactly what you want, but then having an easy access outside of the editor to be able to say, look, I need to go and collaborate now on a project. I need to turn it on and essentially enable it for everyone else without having to launch the editor, for example.
Yeah.
Cache server. So looking at this in two ways. So there's the idea of embedding an actual cache server within the hub itself. So the hub will function as a locally installed cache server for all of your projects. Then taking the other side of, well, what if the hub itself were to be able to then be deployed remotely as a cache server or point to a remotely configured cache server, then you can customize that for your project. Per project cache servers is the idea around that.
So the idea behind that also is that if you want, for example, to share a project with a few persons, then and you decide to have a cache server on your computer, then the other computers can hook onto your own cache server, and so it's faster to get the project running really quickly and have the asset build properly.
The idea of an activity stream. I think everyone who's using the Unity app today has noticed a lot of activity going on the activity stream. I hope everyone is sitting down, which is awesome. But I think ultimately we want to be able to then tie in the same type of social logic to your collaborating, you're using cloud build. What are those processes and systems that you depend on to be notified on? So for example, a build is ready in your, whether it's cloud build, you have a local build service that you're running on your own servers, have a notification list, direct link to it. And this really enables the hub to not just be something that ties into the editor, but could serve as a standalone application for people who don't even need to open the editor. Maybe you have a QA team or someone who's running, who just needs to have access to the build and be notified, give it a quick link. How do we then enable that basically through our interfaces? And last, extensibility. So this was a big one we've heard. Starting to ask ourselves a lot of questions. What does that mean for the hub? Plug-in command line interface. We've heard a lot of questions around. It would be great for hub to do version control. And we ask ourselves, what does that mean? So we brainstormed a few ideas, heard some feedback from clients in the forums. And the idea of being able to then, as you set up a project, be able to point to either, we have Collaborate, which is one of our services, but then we have users who have custom version control, whether that be Git or Perforce, for instance. But then a lot of automation tools that go around that in larger studios. And what does that mean to extend on it for the hub is kind of what we're asking ourselves. Pre-launch scripts, be able to pull in and synchronize assets before you actually launch your project. Automate things via command line, whether that's creation or launching, and installation, of course.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you want to install a version of the editor on a machine right away with a command line tool, or if you would like to open the right version for a project using the command line, this is the kind of thing we're talking about here. And speaking of the source control, the idea would be that you could share your cloud projects, not just by collab, but using your own configuration, basically.
So we kind of went through that really quickly. We have lots of, can go back and circle things. If there are questions in the room, it would be great to hear from you guys. If anyone wants to come up to the microphones on the other side, feel free. Let's have an open conversation. We'd love to hear your feedback.
And tomorrow, by the way, we're going to be showing some build, the new build with the new design. So if you want to come by to check it out.
Yes, tomorrow morning we have a team here that are at the Meet the Devs kiosk from 9 a.m. to noon. If you'd love to come by and actually see some things more hands-on with what we're looking at in detail with those designs, with actually the new hub itself potentially, please come free. There's also a package manager as part of that as well, if you're curious about that, and there's a talk about that tomorrow. But for now, if you have questions, please, we're here. We still have time in the session, so it would be great to hear from you. Don't be shy. Thank you.
Did you already know the command line U3D? There's a Ruby program that starts to do a bit what the hub does. I guess by your faces that you don't know it. So I wanted to know if it was compatible or if it was. It's a soft to also install multiple versions of Unity and to wrap some command lines.
Sorry, can you say the name again?
U3D. It's
U3D.
by Dragonbox.
Okay.
Doesn't ring a bell.
It's a gem. Yeah.
So, but what does it do exactly?
Basically, it really helps you install, manage, and delete Unity versions.
Okay.
And there's also a wrapper to run, actually, a version. So you can go to, in your terminal, you can go to a project folder and just run U3D run, and it will basically just map the right, start exactly the right version of Unity. And it can also do a few other stuff. Yeah. I wanted to know if it had anything to do with it. Or
No. It looks a bit like what we're doing.
It looks it looks a lot like.
Well, I think that's a good point, right? So it sounds great. I'd love to check it out. I'll definitely look into it. But I think ultimately we're trying to build solutions that alleviate some of these day-to-day stresses from people, and really, let us handle the hard problems with our stuff and enable basically everyone here to create. Yeah. We want to make that as streamlined and smooth as possible.
Yeah, it's also especially really useful if you want to do continuous integration. We have a Jenkins solution, and it's really helpful for us to install just by the command line or just run a version. So really looking forward for the hub.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. CI integration is something that we're thinking of. Thanks.
So maybe I'll ask. Oh, sorry, got a question right there.
Yes.
Go for it.
Hello.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
I have a few small questions. Hopefully.
Go for it.
Hopefully they're small. One of the I already started using this because encountered it on a blog post and really enjoying it already. But one thing we noticed is that we also make games for a few other platforms which require you to separately manually install add-ons. Are those planned to also be added in the future?
So you're talking about if you're doing like PS4 or a Nintendo Switch, for example.
Exactly.
So that's a very different relationship than the ones we include in the box. We'd have to figure out a way to be able to do that with third parties and their licensing, for example.
Exactly.
So I think that's a solution into it.
I feel like
it's a related problem to what we're trying to solve with what we at least provide in the box and what we have as built in with Unity. But I think it's definitely on our list of things that we need to improve workflow-wise.
Yeah, and it's sort of related to that. Sometimes you have different parts of the license for different platforms, which also requires you to switch. I mean, you have a build server which requires you to switch between the licenses in between, which is also annoying. So that would also be wonderful. I think there's already some way to do it, but yeah, that's something I would also say that's super cool if that would work. About the templates. You said you could offer the users to use custom templates. How far would that go exactly? For instance, we have some in-house development of scripts that we always copy over from our version control. Could we somehow hook into when we say we want to create our custom template, it would automatically pull from a repository all the DLLs that we would want to?
So there's the concept of having a pre-launch script and the templates. The idea of what I'm hearing is more something, a pre-script launch and a post-script launch when you open or you close your project. This is more so you could copy a few files and send Git requests, for example, that kind of stuff. After templates is more we put stuff that we integrate in the project. So it's assets that we send, packages.
Well, yeah, but
files
the
too.
repository itself, we have several small repositories of assets basically that we want to always include. So I guess that would be part of them.
One of the key things to our template format today, and the project format today, is the manifest for package manager.
Yeah.
So every project today that's created as of basically 17.2, but much more prevalent in 18.1 and above. 2018.1 that is the idea of the project manifest, which contains a list of the required packages for the default tools that you want to have installed with Unity. So in the case of your own development tools, that may be an interesting avenue to look at is how do you author and build your own packages that would then become just listed in that manifest, for example. And then you have your custom template based on the tools that you've built in-house, for instance.
That would be great.
There's a session tomorrow talking just about that.
I'll probably be there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Another question?
Yes.
Hi. I think you just answered it, because what I was going to ask is when you create a new project in the Unity Hub, the asset packages that you can choose are built in, right? So they are. Would there be a way to distribute those asset packages? But I think that's more or less what you were hinting about the package.
Yes, so that's
manifest.
if we want to take that one.
No,
Boris.
but asset package.
So that's the asset store, asset
Yes.
package format, what you're seeing. So those are the ones that you've downloaded, whether you've bought things on the asset store, or you've downloaded tutorials, for instance.
And those are totally local, right?
Yes.
Those are things you've downloaded and it's local to your machine. Exactly. So the package manager format and how we would handle it with templates is the new format, basically, of how we hope to handle tools and basically asset distribution.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, go ahead.
All right, nice. So also talking about the little difficulties from day to day, I'm really happy you guys put in the option to check the platform already in the hub, because sometimes when we kill the whole library, it would re-import for desktop, and then you switch to iOS as a mobile developer, so that is awesome. A question I would have, though, is have you guys thought of, or would there be a way to maybe keep a library per platform? Because we use a cache server, and when we switch from iOS to Android, it will download all the assets, but it will recompile everything and re-import the plugins. It takes a little bit of time, which is not as bad as re-import all assets without cache server. But I was wondering if that is more on the Unity editor side and not on the hub side, or if that was something you guys thought about that could speed it up even a little more.
Okay, I'm not sure about that part, though. We're talking about the library, so asset build and switching from platform. And okay, and the cache server usually is supposed to build keep all the asset for a platform.
Yeah.
So when you switch, and if you have the cache server local flagged, it should work properly, right?
Yeah, that works. No, it's mainly about scripts being re-imported and taking a lot of time for the compilation. But maybe that's another problem on our side that we...
It's not just your problem. And again, if it is an editor problem or a hub problem, these are things obviously we work closely together, as teams to try and solve them. But the hub itself is a link into these systems, right? So I think there's something there which, maybe the cache server can help mitigate some of these issues, but it sounds like there may be more to it than just that.
Yeah.
Okay. We might check that again, but cache server per project sounds also really awesome.
But I think to your question, since we have our team here tomorrow and the package manager team as well, if you want to come by tomorrow morning at the Meet the Devs, I think we can jump into more detail there and have some ideas.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Anyone not use the hub? Anyone using the hub? Awesome.
All right, that's what I want to see.
Well, if that's it, thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.